The idea for this movie came to us from Steven Spielberg. He thought of the idea, I would say, about 10 years ago. And what he told us was that at the time he thought about it, it would have been science fiction. It would have been, a movie that would have stretched all plausibility and credibility. And what's, I think, really exciting about doing it now is that it doesn't anymore.
The world is so interconnected now. Every piece of technology that you use can communicate with every other piece of technology. Here we are 10 years later, and your digital existence is potentially more prevalent than your real one.
Action! Shia and I feel like now we're sort of growing up together. I feel like I'm his older brother or maybe his father, who knows. But, it's great to see his progression. And from 19 years old, we started Disturbia, now he's a 21-year-old, and it was great for him to play someone much older. I had him play a 25-year-old character in this movie. I look at Disturbia and I look at Transformers and I look at now Eagle Eye, and you realize, like, this is only a year apart in this guy's life, but he looks 5 or 6 years older, and here's a mature young man who at certain times in this movie is talking to a young mother in her early 30s about, like, what she should do and how important life is. And so he's shedding life wisdom to a 31-year-old woman, and I think that's amazing for someone like Shia, who a year ago in features was playing like the young teenage boy. You don't have to tweak Shia that much, but when I do, I go in and about halfway through the direction, he's like, got it. And vice versa. I might say, something's not quite right here, can you tell me? And he would say, look, here's what it is. And it's great to have that shorthand.
It's weird to get to the point where, like, your communication with a director could just be simply like a, one of those, or like a, we don't really, it's wild. You would think you'd have more communication, and you have much less.
And background! And action!
The attraction initially was Steven, He's become this father figure in my life, and he's sort of guiding me in these last couple years. And, he puts his finger on something, and I say, oh, what's that? And he goes, oh, you want to see what this is? Here, let me show you something. This is something that had come up before we had even started doing indie, and I'm just running with Steven at this point, And then when he said, that he wanted DJ to do it, it was like, well, what do I have to do? I didn't even care what the project was. Steven and DJ, done, sold. Then he told me this is, Kurtzman and Orsi, and a story he came up with 10 years ago, and J.J. Abrams had his hand on it, and it was like, what? What do I need to do?
It's important to make every film your own as a filmmaker, and that's what Steven said. I want you to take this idea and make it yours, but there's also that added pressure to know that this was a story that's been gestating up in his brain for 10 years, and you always feel you want to do it justice, because as an artist, you always question whether you're doing the right thing or making the right decisions, and particularly when you have someone like Steven there who makes you feel so comfortable. It could be in different situations and different filmmakers, you might have a lot more pressure, but I really felt at ease that he trusted me to go in there and do it and to make the movie my own and still honor his story. Billy Bob Thornton is one of the most dynamic, unusual, cool guys that I've ever met in my life. He comes to work in the morning, he's a little bit groggy because he's a night guy, he's a musician, and literally by the time the makeup cuts on, he comes out, he's just probably one of the funniest men I've ever met in my life, but he takes his job very seriously.
I don't care where you work. I'm not the one in deep shit. You are. That's for you.
I work at Copy Cabana.
That's what you said.
So,
The word is for Shia. We want the camera as close to Shia as possible, but safely being.
Hey, take it that way.
I wanted to stay away from all the digital technology as much as I could. For example, when that crane comes through the building, and it's all practical crane coming through a set that we built, it makes the movie more textured and more real, and that's very important to me, so it doesn't become sort of phony visual effects. We only had with the crane one chance to make it right, because you basically are destroying a set, so you really test it and you time it and you do a lot of things.
Ready, and action!
What happened was when the crane first came through, it didn't come all the way through. And so our cameras, thank God, were locked off, and so then we actually ended up bringing it all the way through. But it's that anxiety of having only 1 or 2 takes of something. And I think that adrenaline actually works for you, because your crew and all the technical sort of support people that you have really have to think it out. If it's all, oh, don't worry, digital, we'll just paint it out, or we'll do this. So it really is a challenge as a filmmaking team to do it for real.
I gotta see the train, sign, train, jump.
That's correct. And set. Ready and Action!
Actually, I've got off 4 years of doing period movies, so for me it's like extremely exciting to just shoot something straight on the streets with fluorescent lights that you can photograph.
Action, Shia! I didn't do this! And camera! Bang, bang!
What was exciting for me, I'd been a fan of Darius for a long time, and he did a movie called Romeo's Bleeding way back in his independent days, and now he's done all the pirate movies. And so what I loved about him was I wanted him to come back to sort of that independent filmmaking aspect, but also there's so many visual effects and little things in this movie that he knows so much about now because he did all the pirate movies.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 3,
To make it look more believable, DJ and I had this approach that treat this film very kind of documentary way. Go back to like reality movies from 70s. You know, there's like a combination of like if you take Manchurian Candidate, French Connection, and add the famous HAL from 2001. So we do a lot of handhold. We use very simple lighting, very naturalistic, if any. If something looks good the way it is, we just shoot it. There was a lot of locations all over the place. We tried to treat them as very realistically. We hardly light nights.
Action!
There's a great new film stock that Kodak just came out just before we started the film that has a tremendous latitude. So we're basically pushing it as hard as we can. We're just shooting things that normally somebody would have 5 lights. We just don't have any. And
Here we go. Action!
so there's always a thrill, but the results are quite amazing, actually. I'm very pleased. Yeah.
And background! Action!
Michelle Monaghan, who we worked with on Mission Impossible 3, is just the sweetest person. We thought she has all of the qualities that we need Rachel to be. She's incredibly sweet. She's incredibly tough when she wants to be. She's, very cute, and she's just everything we needed. So we decided that she'd be great. And when we talked to her about the part, she, was very honest with us about the things that she liked and about the things that she wanted to adjust. And it's just the joy for us is being able to work with the actors and figure out how to tailor the voice to who they are.
As soon as they said Michelle Monaghan, I felt like very secure, because I knew that it'd be easier for me, that most of the work was done already. Once you hired her, it became very easy. And I've known her for a while because we did Constantine together. I was 16 years old.
Shia and I did most of our stunts, actually. I think we didn't do all of the stunt driving, which is the cars and the flips and things like that, but everything else we did.
Why is this happening?
Clutch.
When we first met DJ, and he had read the script and was interested in doing it, he'd mentioned how it reminded him a little bit of an aesthetic of the French Connection. And when he said that, we knew he was the guy for the job, because that, to us, spoke of an intensity but completely grounded, completely real, street-level action. And that's what this movie, I think, has.